Hey, it's Agents on Film. I'm Stephen Chun, your event director, host, and MC. We're celebrating our 10th year of our Festival of Shorts, and we're joined here by the director of Valley. Upper left-hand screen is Allan Tran, and bottom is the Ray Yamamoto, the actor who portrays Kevin, and he is nominated Best Actor. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So, Allan, if you can tell us a little bit about the film and what are we going to expect when we watch it?
Yeah, Valley takes place in my hometown of the San Gabriel Valley in Southern California, Los Angeles County specifically. It's predominantly an Asian and Hispanic American area of the city. So for that reason, it has a very specific cultural landscape there. And it's essentially about two teenage boys at the cusp of manhood, right before they go to college. And it's about them ditching school. And for the day, they get into some minor trouble, and friendships are tested, and they, discover shades of themselves they had previously.
Ray, can you describe your character as Kevin, and then to help us out, also Bloom Lee's character, Ryan?
Yeah, Kevin, Ryan, they're kind of different sides of the same coin. Kev is more of a, I would say like a bully, maybe someone who's less submissive, more, out there, trying to like prove himself, prove how, tough he could be, but he's also, he's got a sense of humor, obviously. He looks good, all that. But, Ryan is, more of that submissive, I would say, kind of that, that Asian male stereotype almost, almost like what you see in American culture, but a very real thing, everyone has, but yeah, just kind of two best friends who are just, similar and very different, which is the case for a lot of people.
So Ray just mentioned something that is underlying with this film. And Allan, if you can expand on how you wanted these two characters to portray Asian Americans, because a lot of your films you've mentioned address the issue of identity and duality in Asian American culture, and especially in male stereotypes too.
Yeah. I think growing up, especially with how we're represented on screen, there's a inclination toward certain stereotypes. So I think we're always very conscious of how we're seen and how we're presented and how we kind of perceive ourselves. And I wanted to put that on the screen and address that in a certain way without seeming forced, So I felt the best way was to have an interplay between these two characters, which Ray alluded to, two sides of the same coin. So I wrote those characters with the intention of showing that duality. Ryan, as Ray mentioned, I think tends to lean toward that stereotype. But I think it comes from somewhere. I think it comes from a repression of emotions, especially at home. And although Ryan can be a Ryan, I think Ryan can also be a Kev at the same time. That's so Kev kind of is that representation of that anger, just right below the surface. This need to put on a facade to compensate a certain way. So it was important for me to see these two characters, Ryan and Kev, as the same character.
You just mentioned home. You just mentioned home, and there were scenes in each of their homes. Not only were you just focused on their moms, each of them, but you had one of the mothers only speak Mandarin, and this is to Kevin, and then the other mother speaking to Ryan in Cantonese. What was your choice in that, and how does that enhance this kind of stereotypical male character you're trying to portray?
Yeah, as far as the languages, there wasn't a direct choice there. It was simply what the actresses their native tongue was. So
Okay.
for Jocelyn May, who plays Ryan's mom, her native tongue is Cantonese. So we just went with that. And for Kev's mom, or who plays her, Gloria Ho, who plays Ryan, Kev's mom, her native tongue is Mandarin. So we just kind of whatever was comfortable for them. So that's how that decision was made. As far as what they represented to the characters, it was just a way into their home lives, and just to see how what their world was at home, because I think at that age, a lot of us our world is the home, and that can be stifling, at least at that age. So when they're outside, they're performing a version of themselves they think they are. For Kev, it's a facade in some ways, and Ryan, it's still sort of the suppression, but he's even more suppressed at home. I just want to show the contrast between their home lives and how they act with each other outside of the home.
You know, we were talking beforehand that you really favor coming of age films. You love watching it, you love making them. And in Ray's character, Kevin, we really do see this transformation and coming of age. Ray, were there any scenes specifically that were difficult for you or were challenging for you in portraying this coming of age character?
Yeah, you know, for me, a lot of you know, because like Alan was saying, Kevin's putting on this facade, right? I think he really has this understanding that him and Ryan are different, but that he sees himself in him, and his whole thing is he's pushing against this stereotype that he sees. You know, his whole life seems to be surrounding this idea that, you know, I'm gonna push back against that stereotype. You know, and I don't know. There's certain parts where we're definitely, you know, taking that all in and trying to like put that out, you know, more naturally was very tough to do. But specifically, I mean, there's a, you know, probably one of the hardest scene was when after the fight scene, you know, I'm walking down kind of by myself, just me, and I had to like release this anger, this emotion in some way, and that was very hard for me to kind of get to. So it took a couple takes, but Alan really helped me find like the right balance of emotion that I wanted to get there, because yeah, you know, you want to make it seem naturalistic, you want to find the character's arc, you know.
Well, Alan, what exactly, there are so many topics in this film, but what exactly would you like your audience to walk away with after watching Valley?
Yeah, I think the primary thing is you mentioned coming of age films earlier, and how much I admired them. There's always a barrier of entry, at least in my experience growing up watching those films, because most of the more well-known films, at least, tend toward, you know, American culture, and in other words, mostly Caucasian characters. And although I enjoy the films of, say, John Hughes, who's probably the biggest name, at least for an era, I enjoy his films, but again, there's a barrier of entry because I don't see myself reflected on screen, or if I am reflected on screen, it's in a not very flattering light. In the case of 16 Candles, you know, so I just wanted to. Exactly. So I wanted to, you know, with Valley, I wanted this as a vessel to show, you know, in the most authentic and honest way, how kids who looked like us grew up, especially in an environment where we grew up mostly, you know, an Asian American town, you know. So again, I just wanted to, the hope is that this resonates in that way, and say, hey, I know a Ryan, I know a Kev, I understand where they're coming from. And
I think the main thing that Alan, you know, got us to all buy into the film for was, you know, the authenticity part. You know, that's the most important part, to make this not feel like it's not, you know, that's very natural. It's something very real life, something very relatable. And just for me and for Bloom and, you know, Michelle and all the other actors, just being in the actual location, you know, in the valley, being around, seeing the town. Like I never really spent time in the San Gabriel Valley until this, and that really, being there on location really just helped me create all these memories of Kev. And grind and like living there my entire life and really just being in the environment. That really helped, I think, the film set a tone and helped everybody really understand where we're coming from, make it very authentic, very, very natural.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here today. Once again, this is the film Valley, and we have our director, Allan Tran, in the upper left. And then on the bottom is Ray Yamamoto, nominated for Best Actor portraying the role of Kevin. If you'd like to see this film or this video, you can check out the links in our bio. But we thank you for joining us on our 10th annual Asian on Film Festival of Shorts. Guys, thanks so much for joining us again.